Aries, let me ask you something. Have you felt it lately? That quiet tension in your chest, even when nothing looks wrong on the surface? Because right now, your intuition isn't whispering. It's screaming. There's a presence around you. A conversation, an offer, a familiar face that feels almost right, but something in you won't relax. And no, Aries, this isn't fear. This isn't overthinking. This is your inner compass reacting to a truth that hasn't fully shown itself yet. Some people don't reveal who they are right away. They wait, they watch, they return at the exact moment you're about to choose differently. So before you move forward, before you say yes, or open that door again, stay with me, listen closely, and if this resonates, leave a comment, because trusting yourself might be the most important decision you make next. Something is about to become very clear. Aries, let me slow this moment down with you. Right now, there's a subtle tension moving through your body. Not loud, not dramatic, just enough to make you pause. Even if you don't fully understand why, nothing has collapsed. Nothing has exploded. From the outside, things still look fine. But inside, there's a quiet resistance, a tightening, a sense that something doesn't quite align anymore. And I want you to hear this clearly. What you're feeling isn't weakness. It isn't imagination. It isn't you being too sensitive. This is your intuition waking up before your mind can catch up. Lately, you've been noticing things you didn't notice before. A pause in someone's voice. A shift in energy after a conversation. The way a situation feels different once you're alone again. You're reading between the lines now. Not because you're suspicious, but because you're present. The moon is active in your energy. And when the moon speaks, it doesn't use logic. It uses sensation, memory, feeling. You don't need proof yet. You don't need answers yet. You just need to trust that inner signal that says, something here wants my attention. The high priestess energy around you right now isn't dramatic either. She doesn't rush. She doesn't explain herself. She simply notices what others overlook. That's why you've been more quiet lately, more observant, more selective about what you share and with whom. You may even feel slightly disconnected from people who once felt familiar. Not angry, not bitter, just aware. And awareness changes everything. This moment didn't arrive randomly. You didn't stumble into it by accident. You're here because a choice is forming in front of you. A choice that looks simple on the surface, but carries weight underneath. Your intuition is sounding the bell now, not to scare you, but to slow you down. Because once you move forward from this point, you won't be the same person who started the journey. I want you to breathe here for a second. Let the noise fall away. Notice how your body responds when you imagine saying yes. Notice how it responds when you imagine stepping back. Your body already knows what your mind is still negotiating. And this is where we begin to go deeper. Because what's coming next isn't about fear. It's about history. About something familiar returning to your orbit, wearing a slightly different face at a very specific time. So stay with me. Don't rush this moment. There's more unfolding beneath the surface now. And what you're about to recognize will change how you see the past and how you choose your next step. Aries, stay with me here because the feeling you're sensing now is beginning to take shape. It's familiar, not loud, not sudden, but recognizable in a way that makes your chest tighten just a little. Someone from your past has drifted back into your awareness, not crashing in, not demanding, just appearing again at a moment when you're finally standing on new ground. And what's different this time is not just them, it's you. This person, or this opportunity, once held weight in your life. Enough weight to leave an imprint. Enough meaning that its return doesn't feel random. They're showing up softer now. More careful with their words. More reflective. There's an apology in their tone, even if it's not spoken out loud. A sense of regret. A quiet wish to rewind the clock and do something differently. And for a moment, your heart remembers. Not the ending, but the beginning. The version of them that once felt safe. The promise that never fully unfolded. The path you stepped away from because it wasn't ready then. That's the pull of memory. It doesn't lie. But it doesn't tell the whole story either. You may catch yourself wondering, What would have happened if timing had been kinder, if choices had been clearer, if someone had shown up differently? That question doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Six of Cups energy doesn't ask you to go backward. It asks you to remember without romanticizing, to feel without getting lost. And Judgment energy is stirring underneath all of this. Not to pressure you, but to invite awareness. This return isn't about nostalgia alone, it's about contrast. Because now, Aries, you can feel the difference between who you were then and who you are now. Back then, you were still learning your worth, still stretching your voice, still discovering what you would no longer tolerate. Now, you're steadier, quieter, less reactive. That's why this moment matters. The universe isn't asking you to reopen old wounds, it's asking you to observe how you respond. When the past knocks gently instead of breaking down the door, there's a test here. But not the kind you pass or fail. It's a test of intuition. Do you feel expansion when you imagine welcoming this back into your life? Or contraction? Do you feel curiosity that feels grounded? Or urgency that feels heavy? Your body will answer before your mind does. It always does. And here's something important I want you to hear. A second chance doesn't always mean repeating a story. Sometimes it means seeing it clearly for the first time. You're not being asked to decide yet. You're being asked to notice, to let the memory surface, to let the emotion pass through, without handing it the steering wheel, because what's coming next is not about the past alone. There's an offer forming, a possibility that looks practical, structured, almost too reasonable to question, and that's where this story deepens. So take a breath with me. Let the past settle into its rightful place. Something new is stepping forward now. And the way it feels will tell you more than words ever could. Aries, let's stay right here together for a moment. Because now, something solid is stepping into the picture. Not emotional, not nostalgic, practical, an offer. It doesn't rush toward you. It walks, slowly, confidently. Like it knows its own value. This could be work, a project, a partnership, or a promise of stability that sounds almost relieving after everything you've carried. On paper, it makes sense. The numbers add up. The plan feels realistic. There's structure here, timelines, steps, a sense of progression that says, this could actually work, and part of you wants to exhale, because you've already done the brave thing once. You chose a new direction. You stepped away from what no longer fit. You built momentum with your own hands. So when this opportunity appears, it doesn't feel random. It feels earned. Knight of Pentacles energy doesn't seduce. It reassures. It says, take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Page of Pentacles adds something quieter. A beginning. A chance to learn. To grow into something that could last. And Page of Wands brings a spark. Excitement. The idea that this path might not just be safe, but meaningful. From the outside, this looks like the kind of opportunity people wait years for. So why does your chest tighten again? Why does your body hesitate when your mind is nodding yes? This is where I want you to be very honest with yourself, Aries. Because intuition doesn't always scream danger. Sometimes it whispers discomfort. When something isn't fully aligned yet, you're not doubting the opportunity itself, you're sensing what's underneath it. The pace feels right, the structure feels right, but there's a subtle feeling that something is being presented before it's fully revealed. Not deception, not manipulation, just information that hasn't surfaced yet. You might notice this after conversations. How you replay certain words. How you feel slightly unsettled once the excitement fades. It's not fear of success, it's discernment. You've outgrown rushing into things that only look good. You want what feels good when you're alone with it. When no one is selling you on the idea. When the room is quiet. That's why this moment matters. Because this offer is testing something deeper than your ambition. It's testing your relationship with your inner knowing. You're being asked to notice the difference between pressure and invitation. Between movement that's grounded and movement that's rushed by expectation. And here's something important. A good opportunity will wait for your clarity. It won't demand your silence. It won't require you to ignore your instincts. So if part of you is pausing, honor that. Not by rejecting what's in front of you, but by allowing space for truth to rise. You don't need to decide yet. You need to feel. Because as this offer continues to take shape, another layer will reveal itself. Not through promises, but through patterns. And the moment you see it clearly, you'll understand why your intuition never let you rush past this point. Just breathe here. What's coming next? We'll explain the tension you've been carrying. Far more than logic ever could. Aries, stay close to this feeling with me, because this is where things become subtle. Not dark, not dramatic, just quietly revealing. The person you are sensing right now is not openly harmful. There is no obvious threat, no clear attack. Nothing you can point to and say, this is wrong, and that is exactly why your intuition is alert. This energy does not move loudly, it moves intelligently, with timing, with words chosen carefully, with expressions that seem sincere enough to lower your guard. In the past, there were moments you did not see clearly, not because you were naive, but because you were generous. Because you trusted before asking questions. There were things left unsaid then. Details that surfaced too late. Choices that benefited them more than you. Nothing blatant, just enough imbalance to leave you doubting yourself afterward. That is the memory your body remembers now. What returns to you is not the same version you once knew. They appear softer, more reflective, almost careful in how they approach you. You can sense the regret, a desire to repair, a willingness to offer more than before, and part of you wants to believe it. Because growth is real, people do change. Apologies can be genuine, but there is another layer here, one that requires patience to see. Snake energy does not mean evil, it means adaptive, it means observant. It means knowing when to retreat and when to return. This is someone who understands timing. Who knows when you are stronger, more stable, more valuable, and they come back not to disrupt you, but to reposition themselves in your life. This is where discernment matters. Seven of Swords reversed speaks of guilt, of awareness, of someone realizing what they lost and wanting to undo the damage. But reverse does not erase the past, it brings it into the light. You are no longer dealing with the unknown. You are dealing with truth that is partially revealed. That is why trust does not come easily now. Not because you are closed, but because you are awake. You listen differently, you notice pauses, you feel the space between words. You sense when generosity is offered too quickly, when promises arrive before accountability. And here is the healing truth I want you to hold. Caution does not make you cold. It makes you self-respecting. You are not here to accuse. You are here to observe. To let actions speak without rushing to conclusions. To allow consistency to prove itself over time. A sincere heart will not pressure you to forget. It will give you space to remember clearly. So if something in you is leaning back just a little, that is wisdom, not fear. You do not need to confront. You do not need to expose. You only need to stay present, because clarity does not arrive through force. It arrives through patterns, and very soon, those patterns will become easier to read. As you continue forward, conversations will deepen. Details will surface naturally. Motives will no longer hide behind charm. Stay steady here. Stay grounded in your body. The next layer of this journey will not require suspicion. It will offer truth. And when it does, you will know exactly how to move, without betraying yourself again. Aries, let's breathe into this moment together. Because right now, you are not lost. You are standing still on purpose. From the outside, it might look like hesitation. But inside, something much deeper is happening. You are at a crossroads. Not the kind with signs and clear directions, but the kind where both paths feel heavy in different ways. You have options, more than you've had in a long time, and that's exactly what makes this moment difficult. One path keeps what you know, the routines, the familiar rhythms of your life, the version of you that has already survived so much. The other path asks for movement, not reckless movement, intentional change. It asks you to imagine leaving something behind, not because it failed, but because it no longer stretches you. And that's where the fear creeps in, not fear of failure. You've faced that before. This is fear of repeating an old lesson, fear of choosing wrong again, fear of discovering that effort and hope might still cost you something precious. Judgment reversed shows up when the mind circles without landing. When every option feels possible, and yet none feels safe enough to choose, you replay scenarios in your head. You imagine outcomes late at night. You ask yourself what if more than you ask what now. And Two of Wands holds the image of someone gripping the world, but not stepping forward yet. That's you. You are holding your future in your hands, aware that once you move, the view behind you will change forever. Part of you senses that accepting this next step means sacrifice, maybe distance, maybe leaving a place that once felt like home, maybe stepping out of a role you've mastered into something unfamiliar. Change doesn't scare you. What scares you is losing the parts of yourself you fought hard to protect. And I want you to hear this clearly, Aries. This pause is not weakness. It is respect. Respect for the life you've built. Respect for the lessons you paid for in full. Respect for the weight of the decision in front of you. You are not stuck because you lack courage. You are stuck because your courage has matured. You no longer leap just to prove you can. You leap when your soul agrees. There is a quiet wisdom forming here. One that asks you to listen beyond urgency, beyond external pressure, beyond other people's timelines. You don't owe anyone a rushed answer. Not even yourself. If something inside you feels torn, it's because both choices carry meaning, and meaning deserves time. Here's what I want you to do right now. Not tomorrow, not after you decide. Notice which option allows you to breathe deeper. Which one softens your shoulders, even if it scares you. That is not the voice of fear. That is the voice of alignment. You don't need certainty to move forward. You need honesty. And honesty is beginning to rise. As you stay with this moment, as you stop forcing clarity and let it come to you, the fog will thin, words will be spoken, truths will surface, and what feels impossible to decide today will soon feel obvious. Stay with me. Because the next layer of this journey is where the truth finally steps into the light and shows you which path was always meant for you. Aries, this is the moment where the air begins to change. You can feel it before it happens. That subtle shift when silence starts to feel heavier than words. When something inside you knows a conversation can no longer be avoided, and it does not arrive with chaos. It arrives calmly, almost gently. There is a clearing coming, not because you demand answers, not because you push, but because truth has its own timing. And once it decides to surface, it does not need permission. The energy around you now carries the sharp clarity of a clean blade. Not to wound, but to separate illusion from reality. A conversation unfolds, not dramatic, not explosive, just honest. There are pauses, longer than usual, words chosen carefully, and in those spaces, you begin to hear what was always there. Motives start to show themselves, not through confession alone, but through tone, consistency, and what is finally acknowledged. You realize why certain things never quite added up, why some actions felt slightly off even when the explanation sounded reasonable, why your body never fully relaxed around certain promises. This is not about blame. It is about clarity. You see where loyalty was uneven, where competition hid behind cooperation, where self-interest quietly shaped decisions that affected you. And what surprises you most is not the truth itself. It is how calm you feel receiving it. Because deep down, you already knew. Ace of Swords energy does not bring comfort first. It brings precision. It cuts through confusion, so you no longer have to carry it. So you no longer have to guess. So you no longer have to doubt your own perception. You finally see who respects your boundaries, and who only tolerated them when it was convenient. You see who is willing to take responsibility, and who prefers to rewrite the past to avoid discomfort. This is where your power returns. Not in confrontation, not in proving anything, but in recognition. You no longer need to explain yourself. The truth does that for you. And here is the healing part I want you to hold close. Truth is not here to punish anyone. It is here to protect you. It protects your time, your energy, your future. It shows you who can walk beside you with integrity and who can no longer access the deeper parts of your life. This clarity does not harden your heart. It steadies it. You remain open, but you are no longer porous. You can listen without absorbing what does not belong to you. You can forgive without forgetting what you learned. And most importantly, you can choose without fear. Because once truth is revealed, indecision loses its grip. There is a quiet confidence forming now, one that does not announce itself, one that simply knows. As this understanding settles, you begin to sense something else approaching, not from the past, but from the future, a vision, a possibility, a reminder of what you are capable of building when your energy is no longer divided. Stay with that feeling. Let clarity anchor you, because what opens next is not just a choice, it is an invitation to step towards something brighter and more aligned than anything you have left behind. Aries. Notice how the space around you feels different now, not lighter in a fragile way, but clearer, like the air after a long storm finally settles. Once the truth stands in front of you, something quietly unlocks inside. A tension you didn't realize you were carrying begins to loosen its grip, and in that opening, a new vision starts to form. It doesn't rush in with fireworks. It arrives softly, almost respectfully, as if it's been waiting for you to see clearly first. This is where the star begins to glow, not as fantasy, not as false hope, but as a steady reminder of what you are capable of building when your energy is no longer split. You may feel drawn toward a path that feels meaningful again. Work that doesn't just pay the bills, but feeds your sense of purpose. A project that asks for your devotion instead of draining your spirit. For some Aries, this looks like a long-term vision. Something you grow into slowly, patiently, with intention. For others, it feels more public, more visible, a presence online, a voice, a platform where your experience becomes valuable to others, not for attention, but for impact. Eight of Pentacles energy hums quietly here. This isn't overnight success. This is devotion to the craft, showing up even when no one is watching, learning, refining, building something real with your hands and your heart. And then there is the Fool, not reckless, not naive, but open. This is the moment where you realize that certainty has never been the requirement. Courage has. The leap in front of you is not about leaving everything behind. It's about trusting yourself enough to step forward without knowing every detail. And here's what matters most, Aries. You are not choosing this path out of fear anymore. You are choosing from clarity. Fear tightens the body. Truth expands it. Notice how your breath changes when you imagine committing to what excites you, even if it scares you a little. That mix of nervousness and aliveness is not a warning. It's resonance. This dream doesn't promise ease. It promises alignment. It will ask for your effort, your consistency, your willingness to stay present when old doubts try to pull you backward. But it will also give back. It will give you momentum that feels earned, confidence that grows quietly, and a sense of integrity that no one can take from you. You are not here to repeat old cycles. You are here to start a chapter that reflects who you are now. And as this possibility continues to take shape, one final question begins to rise. Not what could go wrong, but what kind of life do you want to stand inside? A year from now, let that question rest with you. Because the next moment is not about chasing dreams anymore. It's about grounding them, choosing how you move forward with wisdom and self-respect. Stay with me just a little longer. There is a final truth waiting to meet you, one that brings everything together and reminds you why trusting yourself has always been your greatest strength. Aries, let's pause here together for a moment, because the final piece of this energy isn't about action, it's about presence. And the way your body and heart quietly whisper before your mind even forms a thought. You don't need to decide anything right now. Not today. Not tomorrow. The weight of choice is already heavy enough. Instead, feel the space around you. Notice how your chest lifts when you allow yourself to simply breathe. Notice how your shoulders soften when you stop racing toward an answer that hasn't arrived yet. Time, Aries, is on your side. Not as a ticking clock, but as a gentle companion, letting clarity settle slowly in its own rhythm. This is about honesty with yourself, about listening without pressure, about honoring what feels aligned and stepping back from what doesn't. If a chill runs through your intuition, if your gut hesitates or your heart tightens, let that be your guide. Step back. Observe. Protect the space you hold within you, and when the tension eases, when the weight lifts, and your chest feels lighter, you will know. You will know that the path in front of you is the one your soul has been pointing toward all along. Not forced, not rushed, but chosen with awareness and trust. The journey ahead asks for courage, yes, but the kind that whispers softly in your ear, reminding you that integrity is more important than speed. That patience doesn't weaken you, it strengthens the roots of everything you are about to build. You've carried lessons, Aries. You've seen shadows where others might have walked blindly. You've felt the weight of others' actions, and yet you've kept moving, trusting in the rhythm of your own heart. Now, let that rhythm guide you again. Not with expectation, not with fear, but with quiet, grounded certainty. Everything you've learned leads to this space, a moment where clarity, trust, and courage meet. A moment where you can step forward without losing the essence of who you are. Breathe into that knowing. Let it anchor you. And remember, your intuition is not alarmist. It is protective. It does not rush. It does not demand. It simply guides. So take the time you need. Hold the space for yourself. Let the next steps unfold naturally. And when you feel ready, when your chest feels light and your mind quiet, you will move. Not because someone told you to, not because opportunity knocks, but because your heart has chosen to trust itself fully. Your intuition is screaming, Aries, not to scare you, but to save you. And with that whisper, you are ready to meet the next chapter, exactly as you are. Aries, before you move, I want you to feel this. There is a power in pause, a strength in listening, a quiet force that has been shaping you long before this moment arrived. The truth you've been waiting for is here, not to punish, not to scare, but to awaken you. And what you do with it, that choice is yours. Right now, your heart knows more than your mind will ever admit. It knows who can walk beside you. It knows who cannot. It knows the difference between shadow and light. So lean into it, Aries. Trust the small signals, the gentle pull that says yes, or the subtle hesitation that says wait. Because your intuition is not a whisper, it's a roar. A guiding flame reminding you that you are capable of everything you have ever wanted without losing yourself along the way. And here's the surprising part. The universe has more in store than you think. Opportunities you can't see yet are already aligning, quietly gathering strength while you take the time to choose wisely. This is your moment to honor yourself, to protect your energy, to step into your power without fear. So when you leave this space, carry this knowing with you. Comment if this resonates, share your truth with someone who needs it, and subscribe to stay close to the guidance that is coming. Because Aries, this journey is far from over. Your next message is already forming. The next door is waiting to open. And when it does, you will move not because of circumstance, but because your soul has finally said yes. Remember, your intuition is screaming, not to scare you, but to save you. Stay close. Stay ready, because the journey continues. And the next message is coming.